Hello and welcome to this week's Digital Sunday School lesson. Our lesson is Lesson 3, The Temple Testimonies, which the title comes from the end of Luke 2. There's two people, Simeon and Anna. Two people had been waiting for a long time for the Messiah to come. They meet Jesus as a baby. He's just 8 days old. They meet him and God gives them the awareness, the understanding to know that Jesus is going to do great things. Best thing of all, be the Savior of the world. So, the first part of this lesson is Christmas. So we're celebrating Christmas in end of September. We often think of Christmas as being all about gifts. You know, when you're a kid, you get really excited for the gifts you hope to receive on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, whenever your family opens gifts. That's a fun, nice thing. But Christmas really isn't about getting a gift like a Nerf gun or a doll or some sort of game or a bike or anything like that. Those are all good things. Christmas is about one really special gift that God gave to the world. The gift of Jesus as our Savior from sin, from death, and the devil. So, at the beginning of our lesson, there's this guy named Caesar Augustus. He's a Roman ruler, and he wants a census to be taken. Basically, he wants to count all the people in his empire. So everybody has to go to their hometown where they were born and basically say, this is me. I'm alive, I'm from here. So eventually this Roman guy, Caesar Augustus, can count all the people in his kingdom and say, I have this many people that I rule over. So Mary and Joseph go to a town called Bethlehem, because that's where they grew up. So they go from Nazareth, you got a little map here, down to Bethlehem, which, you know, if they're going on donkey and walking, that's a tough trip. But remember, Mary's 9 months pregnant. She's about to have baby Jesus. So for her to make this trip would have been very difficult. But it's pretty amazing that she did, because all the prophecies in the Old Testament said that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem. So you can see the hand of God is working things out in the world so that Mary and Joseph would be in this little town of Bethlehem when Jesus was born. They get to Bethlehem and they're looking for a place to stay, and there's no room because of the census. The little town is just packed with people who are there for the census, and they go to the innkeeper, and the innkeeper doesn't have a place for them to stay either. So they end up going somewhere outside, some kind of stable, and Jesus is born. A baby is born not in some sort of fancy hospital, not in some castle or mansion, not even in a home, but in some sort of stable. We sometimes show this in our live nativity. Maybe you came to our live nativity last year. We did sort of a drive-through event. We always have someone playing Mary and someone playing Joseph and holding baby Jesus. This is the heart of Christmas. That little baby, as crazy as it sounds, is true God. Little baby in his mom's arms. That's God who came to be our brother. We sometimes use the term Emmanuel, which means God with us. What kind of God do we have? A God who came to be with us. And what a humble birth that was for him. Again, not a real fancy birth, but as we show in our live nativity too, he's right there by donkeys and whatever animals were out there too. Jesus came to this world very humbly, and that would be the kind of life that he led, a humble one. Not one where he was always saying, it's all about me and everybody come serve me. In fact, in worship tomorrow, our gospel, Jesus says he didn't come to be served, but to serve. So he's born, Mary's holding her Savior in her arms, which is an amazing thing. There are some shepherds close by, and they're just, minding their own business, watching their flocks at night, maybe starting to fall asleep a little bit next to the fire. And all of a sudden, angels show up out of the night sky, and you can just imagine how insane that was for them. Just a normal night, watching our sheep outside in Bethlehem. All of a sudden, these divine messengers come, and they tell the shepherds, do not be afraid. We bring you good news of great joy that will be for all the people. Basically, they're telling these shepherds, the Savior that people have been waiting for thousands of years, guys, he's here. He was born tonight, and it's amazing. And there's angel hosts appear, and they're singing this glorious song. Would have loved to hear what that song was and just how beautiful that was. And he tells the shepherds, go and find the baby. And they do. They take off, and they sprint and go find the baby. And imagine Mary and Joseph's faces when all these shepherds show up outside the manger. But a pretty cool thing. Again, who were the first people that knew Jesus was born, the Savior of the world, besides his mom and dad? A shepherd. Just a couple shepherds who in that time were not very respected. So humble. The humble Savior who who came to rescue us by living, by dying, and rising again from the dead. It was never about him. It was all about us, all about sinners like the shepherds and like us. So that's Christmas, just a very short version of that. Luke leaves us with the scene of Mary holding Jesus in her arms, and she treasures up and ponders all the things that had happened that night. Just imagine what that was like for Mary to give birth to the Savior, and just think, wow, what an incredible night. God has brought us safely through this point. Now, when a baby in Israel was 8 years old, they would take them to the temple and present them to God, basically saying, this child is yours. We know this child is a gift from you, and so we dedicate this child to your service. And they would offer sacrifices to God, basically to say thank you, and we're going to do whatever we can to make sure this child stays connected to you their whole life. They didn't have baptism yet. That would come later when Jesus instituted that. But they would bring him to the temple and dedicate them to God. So they have baby Jesus, just a couple days old, in the temple. And God tells this man, Simeon, that the Messiah is in the temple. God had somehow told this older man, Simeon, that you're not going to die until you get to see the Savior with your own eyes. So this guy named Simeon comes up, and he's holding baby Jesus in his arms, and he says these amazing things about what Jesus would do. And just imagine holding a baby that's less than 2 weeks old and saying, this baby is going to save the world. That would be kind of an amazing thing to do. And he sings a song that we have recorded for us in Luke 2. It's a song you've maybe sung before. We call it the Song of Simeon. We don't always sing it, but every once in a while we'll sing the Song of Simeon, and it's all about what he said Jesus would do. And he tells Mary, this is going to be really good, but this is also going to be really hard for you. Essentially, one day you're going to have to see your son die. He's going to rise again from the dead, but it's going to be tough for you to watch this. The section finishes with another woman named Anna. Anna's also been at the temple for a long time, and she gets to see Jesus too. And she tells Mary and Joseph as well, this child is going to redeem Israel. He's going to buy back all of us from the slavery of sin, death, and the devil. And then the last verse of our section, it says they take Jesus home and he grows up. So it's interesting to think about Jesus growing up like a normal kid, except that he was obedient and didn't sin at all. But in many ways, Jesus had a normal childhood, learning how to do things, growing up year by year, marking his height maybe against the door frame or something like that. So, temple testimonies, lesson, a couple big things. 1, Jesus was born in Bethlehem as a true man, just like God said that he would be. And 2, even as a baby, God allowed people to recognize and understand and prophesy the great things that he would do. That's all for this week. All right, thanks for watching.